Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the self-knowledge lectures. Let me check here the audio. Hello, everyone. Okay, everything's okay over here. Well, today we have the lecture number 22, and in this one, we are going to talk about meditation. Well, today we are going to see what is meditation, what are the, let's say, different kinds of meditation that exist, and what are the ones that really will help us to achieve inner changes. So today we are going to learn to differentiate between transcendental meditations and contemplative meditations. So we need to know that if we really want to achieve an inner change, we need to learn how to meditate, and today we are going to be deepening in this topic of meditation. So let's start over here. Let me put these lights. There you go. So this, I think, is a very extremely important topic because we here are receiving tools to awaken our consciousness, to get to know ourselves. And actually, for this purpose, meditation is fundamental. Through meditation, we can come to understand, and we can come also to resolve all the different negative aspects that mark our psychology. For example, we can resolve our traumas, we can resolve phobias, and we can get to eliminate each one of our negative ways of being, which is our ego, to achieve radical changes in our inner world. So today we are going to see in detail everything about meditation, and we are going to see the steps to achieve a correct meditation. Today we are going to learn what is the reflective meditation, and you are going to see that this is a very, very important meditation. And well, we must start from the fact that in life the only important thing is radical, total, and definitive change. The rest honestly doesn't have like this slightest importance, even though we think is important. It turns out that we usually try to solve our problems by making external changes, and we don't understand how that no matter how hard we try to make changes outside, we can change jobs, we can change partners, we can change places, even countries, etc. And we can see that problems like haunt us, and that no matter where we go or no matter the new person in our life, we end up having like the same problems. And this is because we don't understand that it doesn't matter how many external changes we make if the real causes of all our problems lies within us, in our wrong ways of being that are constantly attracting the same circumstances of our life to happen once and again. So we can understand, if we really reflect on this, that if we sincerely want a real change, we must learn to meditate. Since he who doesn't know how to meditate, that one that is just like superficial, will never dissolve the ego. Will always be like a powerless log in the raging sea of life. So we are going to continue just like dancing to the music that everyone plays, reacting like with violence in violent situations, reacting weakly or with sadness or despair to any adverse situation, or we will continue reacting with greed, with lust, with laziness, depending on the circumstance, without ever achieving self-control, without ever achieving to have a control over our mind, over our emotion, over our sex, etc. And that is why we must know to be serious. And we need to learn to put aside so many forms of meditation that don't lead us to generate real changes in ourselves, because nowadays there are many like inconsequential, like superficial and vain meditations. We find them everywhere, and they are not really focused on us to achieve an internal change. So we need to start like by understanding what is meditation. We need to know that meditation is the means to achieve, through inner silence, wisdom, to unite ourselves to that divine part in us to achieve wisdom. Meditation, it is said, that is the daily bread of the wise. And it is because from meditation, or is from meditation, that we are going to get the wisdom about ourselves and about the entire universe. Actually, in deep meditation, we manage to reach the causes, the very causes of all of our fears, of all of our conditioning, of all of our beliefs, and of all of our wrong ways of being, to get to definitely eradicate them from us. And when we get to eliminate the ego from us, the superficiality in us, all those wrong ways of being that have trapped our consciousness, from there we rescue the wisdom. That is the consciousness that is trapped in each one of our negative ways of being. So the meditation that is really going to be useful to us is the meditation that leads us to generate changes in ourselves, that lead us to really transform ourselves. Now, there are several types of meditations, and it's important we stop here a while to analyze this point. There are contemplative meditations, and these abound everywhere with all kinds of methods and ways, but they are like inconsequential meditations that only lead us to achieve, like a pleasant state of relaxation. There we can sit and come to listen to a sound or to a beat, or we can get to, or we can make a meditation that make us to concentrate on something, and comes out that these types of meditation get us to feel fine, well and relaxed. But since they are not like making or letting us or directing us to achieve any inner change, it is not like eliminating all the negative things in ourselves. It's not making like a transcendental transformation in us. And what happens? That we feel very good in these kinds of meditation. We feel relaxed. We forget about everything. And in that moment, we feel like if we are in heaven. We are like in that state of peace. But what happens? As we haven't do anything to change ourselves in those meditations, we don't have in those meditations any transcendental experience. Actually, as soon as we go out of that meditation and we go and we face with any adverse situation that makes emerge the ego in us, we immediately lose the state of relaxation, of that inner peace that we had achieved. And these types of meditation that don't lead us to actually generate changes in ourselves are no more than a waste of time. And if we really yearn for an inner breakthrough, we must put aside these kinds of meditation and start being serious. Well, on the other hand, we have the transcendental meditations, which are meditations that seek a change in the person. And in this course, we are going to see two of these meditations. Today, we will see the steps to achieve a transcendental meditation that is known as the reflective meditation. And this one will lead us to deepen our psychology and to get to generate radical changes within us. And in lecture number 36, we are going to see the transcendental meditation that is known as the koans meditations, which is a wonderful meditation practice that will allow us to access the sixth and the seventh dimension and there to directly experience through great reality. And well, as I said, today we are going to be focusing on the reflective meditation, as this is absolutely important. And this meditation will lead us to search in ourselves for the very causes of all of our reactions, of our pain, of our suffering, of our wrong attitudes, etc. So, by looking for them and eliminating them from us, we are going to be rescuing the essence, rescuing like the trapped virtue. And with each meditation, with each reflective meditation, we will have achieved a change. And when we face the different situations that previously like brought out each of those negative ways of being, having eliminated them, having understood them and eliminated them, we are going to be able to, in that situation, act different, act in a conscious way. So, what will be the raw material for this reflective meditation? Actually, we all have this raw material because the raw material for the reflective meditations are each of the events, each of the situations and circumstances that we have experienced in our lives, both pleasant and unpleasant. And actually, the more intense and the stronger they have been, the better. Since we'll see that everything that happens to us has the purpose of showing us all those psychological aspects that would like otherwise remain hidden inside us if we don't have the opportunity to live that situation. So we are going to reflect on every of those psychological aspects that have expressed in pleasant situations, but especially in unpleasant situations like hatred, like anger, like revenge, like pain, suffering, self-consideration, suicidal wishes, jealousy, fear, etc. Because from there we rescue a lot of consciousness. And especially we are going to use a lot this meditation to study all those lived scenes where all of our lustful selves have manifested in us, so that we can get, by studying and eliminating them, we can achieve the chastity, the ability to go to a sexual practice, to practice the suprasexuality and never reach the point of orgasm and ejaculation, thus using that energy to create our internal body. So that is like it. This meditation is going to be very, very useful to that work that we all need to do. And well, something that we need like here to quote is like we tend to protest against all the unpleasant situations that happen to us. And actually, this is because we don't know how to see the usefulness of those events. And we must learn to get from this, through meditation, the useful elements for our growth. So we are going to see that every hard situation that we are living and that we have lived in the past are very useful to get to know ourselves. And well, when we start like making this type of meditations, we start like taking like a liking to meditation. When we constantly are doing this type of meditations and we are there like every day, extracting the wisdom from each situation that we live daily, then we start like taking the liking to the taste of work. then we will begin to need to take every day these moments to reflect, to practice this reflective meditation, and well, that will be like a very pleasant process. And we are going to start like losing our liking for that taste of life, which is how we commonly live our lives. All the times identified, all the times reacting, all the time being fascinated about everything external in our lives, about every aspect of our personality, without like delving into anything. In that taste of life, we are like we are living like superficial people, just looking on the appearances of everything. And we are going to stop like identifying ourselves with every situation that happens in life. We are going to start understanding that this life is like a wheel, like you can see here. Life is like a wheel. It turns mechanically with all its pleasant and unpleasant circumstances always recurring. And we need to know that we cannot stop that wheel. All situations in life will continue to be processed mechanically. We are going to change ourselves, but we cannot change anyone else, and we cannot even get to change like the way how the world is going now. But what we can really do is to change ourselves, to change our attitude before life and before the situations that we live with everyone. So we are going to be living a different life, because when I change internally, my whole life changes, because I raise my level of consciousness, and then I start, instead of suffering about everything, instead of being a victim of life and of people, I am starting to be a conscious person who is rescuing the wisdom from every single situation that I get to live. Yeah, and well, the different circumstances in life will stop like affecting us the way they used to. And when we no longer like vibrate with that situation, we start like in a natural process, like moving on, and everything in our life start change. Well, something that I wanted to like explain you before giving you the steps for the reflexive meditation practice is that we need to make ourselves conscious about this marked tendency that we have to blame others. Actually, when we are practicing the reflective meditation, this is a great obstacle, because we will never get to understand how my psychological defects, how my psychological aspects are the culprits of everything that happens in my life if I'm all the time blaming others. For example, I'm acting with anger. I'm yelling. I am, letting my anger manifest. If I am reflecting on a scene of anger, for example, if when going into meditation, bringing that scene, let's say I have an argument with my boss, or with my couple, or with my kids, whoever, and if at that point, instead of looking at my psychological defects, observing my reactions, observing how I felt in my emotion, what I thought, how the anger makes me move, what my anger makes me say, etc. If instead of looking at that and looking at that, if I am reacting in this way, it's because I have those details of anger inside of me. If instead I'm just blaming my boss or my partner or my kid or whoever, saying, yes, I acted like that, but it is because he was like this, or he said that, or he don't have like the right to talk to me like that. And there, instead of saying that, I must look hear and see my pride. See how I feel like I am like something very important and no one can say anything, I don't know, about me. There is our current situation. We don't get to know ourselves because we are all the time focusing on what others do, on what others say, on how others treat me, or etc. But I am not willing to judge myself. And we need to know that the only person that we can change is ourselves. And we can change ourselves, we can transform ourselves, we can get to awaken our consciousness if we stop blaming others for everything that happens to us and we start looking for the culprits of all of our negative reactions, thoughts, emotions, words, etc. inside ourselves, in our negative, wrong ways of being, right? Well, having understood this, let's see what is the step-by-step to achieve the reflective meditation. The first step, well, is to find a quiet place where nobody is coming to, like distract us. It actually doesn't matter so much if you are laying down or if you are in a chair. Actually, there is being comfortable. But if you know that if you are like laying down in your bed, you're going to fall asleep, well, don't do that laying down. Just sit in a chair somewhere where you are comfortable, where you can like relax your body. But we actually don't need like in a special position. No. Anyway, if you want to put in a special position, if you want to make a yoga position, for example, great, it doesn't matter. Okay. And the second step will be to harmonize our environment, and we do so with the protection conjurations that we learned in the lecture number 7. That is here recorded in the page in case you didn't see the video or you don't remember. The first is the Bellarmine conjuration, which is like a mantric song that will help us to energetically clean that place, and we are going to close that place where we find ourselves with the magic circle conjuration. That is important, so we are there like protected from any negative energy and from any telepathic interference. And well, the third step will be to plead for assistance to our inner being, to those upper part of our consciousness, so they allow us to be successful in the practice. So they allow us to see all of those psychological defects that we are going to meditate in and to eliminate them. And then we proceed to relax ourselves. And we are going to relax our emotion, our mind, and our physical body. And we relax our emotion by breathing deeply and slowly for, I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes, until you feel that your emotion is like calm down. So what you're going to do, you're going to inhale, retain, and you're going to exhale through your mouth like you inhale, retain for a while, and quick, you make this. And that way, you're going to feel how your like negative emotions goes out, and your emotion start like feeling like quiet. Then you are going to relax your mind, and for this, you are going to concentrate for a few minutes on all the sounds that are around. You're going to close your eyes, and without identifying yourself with any of those sounds, you are going just to like make the effort to listen to each sound that is everywhere. You can make like a round if you want, looking for further sounds, and then you like return until you come trying to listen to your heart. If you do that of trying to pay attention to your sound, your mind will start calming down. When you try to listen, your mind shut up. So that is the way to relax your mind. And once you experience how your mind becomes silent, you go on to relax your physical body. And you can do so just like imagining how a bright light enters from your big toe of your right foot and is relaxing part by part of your entire body. While mentally, you can also order each part of your body to relax, to let go and to calm down. And you can make a review of the whole body 3 times if you want until you experience a good relaxation. That is very good to be well relaxed, because when we are in that state of relaxation, we can actually enter into that state of meditation more easily. And well, once we are in that stage of harmony and concentration, we are going to enter into reflective meditation. And what we're going to do, we are going to reconstruct in our mind that scene of our life in which we are going to meditate. For example, I am going to meditate my loss, as I was saying. And what am I going to do? I'm going to in meditation, I'm going to start bringing one scene, hopefully the hardest one, in which I was for example, masturbating or watching pornography. I want to stop watching pornography. I need to get to see in myself, in my interior, what are all those things, all those desires, all those emotions, all those thoughts and sensations that all the time manifest in me, and that subject me to go and do that, even on the detriment of my own will. It's the same if you want to work on any vice. For example, you want to stop smoking. You need to bring in reflective meditation one sin in which you felt a strong desire to go and smoke. You didn't want to. You want to stop doing that. Yeah, but you can't. And what you do, you take to this meditation that sin. That is the first step. Or you want to work on your anger because you are a violent person, or on your jealousy because you're so jealous and you want to stop being like that, right? What you're going to do, you're going to bring to meditation the sin, the strongest one in which that psychological defect manifests, right? And the thing is that in this meditation, we get to remember that sin in, let's say, in detail. We are going to use our conscious imagination to see everything that happens from the very beginning of the scene, of the situation, to the end, to see in detail every step, to try to remember this scene as closely as possible. And if you have any problem to remember any part of the scene because it happens a long ago, or just because you can't remember, you can use this mantra that you can see here to help you remember. This is a mantra that helps us to bring memories. And the mantra is Ra-Om, Ga-Om, Ra-Om, Ga-Om. You can do it mentally, Ra-Om, Ga-Om, Ra-Om, Ga-Om. And while doing the mantra, you are trying to reconstruct the scene, right? That way, you are going to remember the whole scene. If you can't remember everything in detail, well, you're going to work with the parts that you can remember. Once you start working on that scene, and you do, for example, at another time, the same meditation with the same scene, you're going to see that you are going to be able to remember more parts of the scene. And well, once we have reconstructed in our conscious imagination the scene, the situation that we are going to work in, we are going to observe in that scene all the different details of the ego that were manifesting in us as thoughts in our minds, in our emotions, and in the desires that we failed. For example, is a scene of jealousy. And for example, I saw my partner talking to someone, right? Immediately I felt a desire, like in that negative emotion, unpleasant emotion. And then I start thinking this and that, and my mind was saying this, and I was projecting that he's cheating on me with that girl, etc. We need to get to observe all these details. The ones that you felt, the desire, the emotion, the actions, what you did, what you said, all of those are details of one ego that is like the yellow one. So what you're going to do, you're going to be observing all the details that were manifesting in the scene. You're going to try to see the greatest amount of details. The smallest the details, the better. You're going to see how the pride was manifesting in you, how sadness, how you wanted to cry, how you felt despair. You're going to see everything in detail. You are going to make this effort to divide yourself. You are going to be like the observer, and everything that you are seeing, all those psychological defects are like the observed part. You are the consciousness. You are the 3%. And you are not going to identify yourself. You are not going to enter into the movie. You are going to remain outside the movie, watching the movie, and seeing every one of the details manifesting. That is going to help you a lot to see more details, because if you get there, if you enter, if you start to identify yourself with the scene, with what you felt, and if you start blaming your partner or blaming the girl, you are going to lose the opportunity of get to know yourself, of get to see every one of the details of jealousy in this example that are actually subduing you, that are actually making of you someone that is not able to control herself or himself. So you are going to divide yourself. You are the observer, and all the reactions of your body, or everything that you said, everything that you felt, everything that you thought, and all the things that you desired are the observed part. That is the sixth step. And then what are you going to do? You're going to judge every one of those details that you are discovering. So you're going to start judging yourself ruthlessly, without justifying yourself, without omitting anything, because we have this self-sympathy, and we are all the time like omitting what we did and putting, like, enlarging what others do. You see? So what we're going to do, you're going to be really judging yourself with the sincere desire of discovering your own ego and eliminate. It's important that when doing this exercise, we don't fall in the error of identifying ourselves or blaming others. It is much more difficult to judge ourselves than others, but if we manage to judge ourselves, we are going to be through stages, because actually from there is from where we are going to rescue the wisdom. So once we have discovered a detail, a single detail that you discover, and you have judged that defect until you understand it is actually a defect, it is not a part of my consciousness. You are going to, for example, discover the pride. That was the detail manifesting in there in the yellows. This is not a part of my consciousness. This is a wrong way of being, and it must die. And how are we going to eliminate that? We are going to implore the force of love of our consciousness to disintegrate that psychological defect from us. We are going to ask mentally, Divine Mother, eliminate this defect for me. And we continue looking in the scene. Okay, now I discover this unpleasant emotion, this anxiety. Okay, I discovered the anxiety. What I'm going to do? I'm going to judge that. That is a psychological defect. It must die. It is not part of my consciousness. My consciousness is not moving on with anxiety, right? So it needs to die. Divine Mother, eliminate this. I'm going to see how my mind was projecting. How can I say that? I was making up things in my mind. I'm imagining that is he's cheating on me. That is the girl. And my mind is taking me to the past to remember that, for example, 2 nights ago he was late from work, and now I'm imagining that he was with that girl. That is a psychological defect that is actually using my mind to make me project a thing and making me to feed that psychological self and make me slave of that wrong way of being. Okay, I know that is a defect. Divine Mother, eliminate that. That is the procedure. Actually, when all these psychological defects are eliminated, when you do this work of being there in meditation, bringing that sin, seeing all the details, judging yourself ruthlessly, and eliminating every one of those details, you are going to see how they are like being disintegrated and how you start feeling like a great relief. Internally, you feel like a great joy. You can come and, for example, you saw the whole scene and you were able to see, let's see, 3, 4, 5 defects, because at the beginning, as we have this sense of the self-observation like stunted due to the lack of use, we don't manage at first to see many details. But as you continue repeating the exercise and you bring the scene, the same scene, once again, you're going to be discovering every time more details. Okay, I wanted to cry. And why was that? Well, because of this. Okay, I wanted to hit that girl, or I wanted to hit him, or I did so. There I'm going to see more details and I'm going to be eliminating them. Once you get to eliminate every single detail of the ego that was manifesting in you there, you are going to be able to bring that scene and see how inside of you nothing is moving. Actually, when you go and you see the same very scene, everything was eliminated. But you're going to achieve that by making several sessions of working on that situation on the same scene. What is going to happen? That if in your very life you are face yourself with the same situation, you already have an understanding, you already have wisdom, and you have already eliminated the psychological defects, and now nothing is moving inside of us. At least you are going to have eliminated a lot of things. So you're not going to feel that strong desire, you're not going to feel that anxiety, you're not going to feel that need to cry or that need to hit someone, or you're not going to let your mind to go there imagining, projecting, remembering, etc. No, because now you have self-control. Now you have recovered a lot of consciousness about that. Yeah, that is like the objective of this meditation. So this is actually wonderful, and as something that you can do to like go further, to go like to deepen even more in any psychological defect that you are studying, is asking yourself these questions, these simple questions: why, what for, how. When you ask why to something, you're going like to open it and you're going to see more details. Okay, I wanted to cry. That is a situation that you are seeing. You are there observing a psychological defect that is like the crying one. But why? Why did I want to cry? And when you ask that, you like open it and you start seeing more details. When you get to answer yourself why you wanted to cry, there you're going to find more details to eliminate, or what for, or how. And when you use those simple questions like to delve in any discovered detail of the defect, or in the very great defect, you are going like to be delving and searching for more defects. And well, that is a reflective meditation. Actually, to get there, to enter into meditation, to bring a scene, can be a scene from the past, can be a scene that you just lived that very day. Okay, you had that day in a situation at work, and you come home and you sit there, you relax, you make all the process, and you bring that situation in order to observe yourself, observe every reaction that you had, and eliminate all that to get to understand, to get to rescue the wisdom, to get to transform yourself. So that next day, if you are faced again with that situation, now you have an understanding, now you have self-control, and now you have consciousness to face that situation in a conscious way, right? And that is a reflective meditation. Some observations that I want to give you are, for example, that when reconstructing a scene, never identify yourself with the situation. I already said that, but I want to point it out here. In no case we should accept any of the justifications that our ego give us. Yeah, you did so, but that was because no justifications. We are going to eliminate everything. And we are not going to evade the responsibility, our part of responsibility in the situation. That way, by facing ourselves in the situation, we will be able to change. We are going to judge ourselves, not others, and it is important that we put ourselves in the other person's shoes, like in the other person's point of view. So we get to see more in detail, and also that we are wanting to blame others, to blame others about something. We are going to use that like a mirror, and we are going to ask ourselves, when did I act the same, or when did I say the same things, or made the same things? And in that way, we are going to also use that person that we want to blame or to criticize as a mirror in which we can study ourselves more in depth. Yeah. And another observation, and a very important one, is to repeat this practice whenever you have the opportunity. Hopefully, you encourage yourself to do this practice every day. This practice, this meditation, is life changing. So if you really give you the opportunity to try this meditation, it is going to be something wonderful. And well, the interested student, the one that really wants to study himself, shouldn't go to bed without reflecting on the different details of the day. And well, guys, this has been today's lecture. This is the reflective meditation, the lecture number 22. And I hope that you understood the step-by-step of this practice. If you have any question at any time, if there is something that you didn't understand, you can ask me there. You can write down any question in the video chat comment section. There, I will be solving any question that you have, or you can text me here in the messenger of the page, or if you are watching this on YouTube, you can leave your comment there, and I gladly will solve any question that you have. And well, I want to invite you to join our next lecture on Facebook. Will be next Friday. We are going to be talking about fanaticism and mythomania, 2 types of self-delusion that we need to study in order to advance in our psychological work. And well, this has been all for today. Thank you very much to all of you. And well, see you the next time. Ciao, ciao. Thank you very much.